Who wants to be a real estate agent? Number 1. When buying a property, one party paid 1/3 of the cost and the other paid the balance. The seller's deed received at the closing conveyed the property to the two parties without further explanation. As a result, the two owners are A. Joint tenants. B. Tenants in common, with each owning a 1/2 undivided interest. C. Tenants in common, with each owning an undivided 1/3 interest. D. General partners in a joint venture. The answer is B. Tenants in common, with each owning a 1/2 undivided interest. Number 2. If property is held by two or more owners as tenants in common, upon the death of one owner, the ownership of his or her share passes to the A. Remaining owner or owners. B. Heirs or whoever is designated under the deceased owner's will. C. Surviving owner and/or his or her heirs. D. Deceased owner's surviving spouse. The answer is B. Heirs or whoever is designated under the deceased owner's will. Number 3. In New Jersey, a deed conveying property to a married couple creates A. Joint tenancy. B. Tenancy by the entirety. C. Tenancy in common. D. Periodic tenancy. The answer is B. Tenancy by the entirety. Number 4. Which of the following statements applies equally to joint tenants and tenants by the entirety? A. There is no right to file a partition suit. B. The survivor becomes complete owner. C. Sale of one share creates a tenancy in common. D. A deed must state the type of tenancy desired. The answer is B. The survivor becomes complete owner. Number 5. Two cousins inherited their grandfather's farm. The cousin who lives on the farm does not pay rent and refuses to pay the taxes. The non-occupant cousin can A. Establish a joint tenancy. B. Sue for partition. C. Inherit automatically when one cousin dies. D. Exercise her right of reverter. The answer is B. Sue for partition. Number 6. Owners A and B own an apartment building as joint tenants. If owner A sells his interest to person C, A. Person C becomes a joint tenant with owner B. B. Person C becomes a joint tenant with owner A. C. Person C and owner B become tenants in common. D. The sale is invalid and owner B becomes sole owner. The answer is C. Person C and owner B become tenants in common. Number 7. Shortly after their marriage, a couple buys a home together. If the deed states nothing to the contrary, they are A. Tenants by the entirety. B. Joint tenants. C. Tenants in common. D. Tenants in severalty. The answer is A. Tenants by the entirety. Number 8. Two people buy a small shopping plaza together. If the deed states nothing to the contrary, they are A. Tenants by the entirety, B. Joint tenants, C. Tenants in common, D. Cooperative owners. The answer is C. Tenants in common. Number 9. X, Y, and Z are joint tenant owners of a hunting lodge. Z dies, leaving everything to his wife. Which statement is true? A. X and Y are now joint tenants with Mr. C. B. X and Y are joint tenants with Mr. C as tenant in common. C. X and Y are now the only owners of the property. D. X, Y, and Mr. C are now tenants in common. The answer is C. X and Y are now the only owners of the property. Number 10. Two friends want to buy a house together and ensure that if one dies, the other inherits automatically. They should take title as A. Tenants by the entirety, B. Joint tenants, C. Tenants in common, D. Life tenants. The answer is B. Joint tenants. Number 11. Two friends buy a store together as joint tenants. One party dies, leaving everything she owns to her daughter. The original owner now owns the store A. Jointly with her friend's daughter, B. As a tenant in common, C. As a life tenant, D. In severalty. The answer is D. In severalty. Number 12. An artificial person created by legal means is known as A. Trust, B. Corporation, C. Limited partnership, D. Joint tenancy. The answer is B. Corporation. Number 13. The 4 unities required to create a joint tenancy in New Jersey include all of the following except A. Time, B. Title, C. Partnership, D. Interest. The answer is C. Partnership. Number 14. X, Y, and Z each invest $1,000 in a new business. X and Y do not participate in the operation of the new venture, but agree to let C make all the decisions regarding its day-to-day management. If the business experiences a $6,000 loss, how is liability shared under these facts? A. As partners, X, Y, and Z are equally liable for the loss of $2,000 each. B. This is a limited partnership in which the partners cannot be held liable for more than the $3,000 original total investment. C. As general partner, C is liable for any loss. X and Y have no liability. D. As limited partners, X and Y are liable only to the extent of their investment. The answer is D. As limited partners, X and Y are liable only to the extent of their investment. Number 15. Common elements include A. Stairwells, B. The swimming pool, C. Fires, D. All of these. The answer is D. All of these. Number 16. The term CCOR refers to A. Clubhouse, courts, and recreation. B. Covenants, conditions, and restrictions. C. Condominiums, cooperatives, and resort timeshares. D. Contracts, citations, and releases. The answer is B. Covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Number 17. The owner of a cooperative apartment receives A. A deed. B. A property tax bill. C. A live estate. D. Shares in a corporation. The answer is D. Shares in a corporation. Number 18. The right to reject prospective new owners is held by the board of directors of A. Townhouse. B. Timeshare. C. Cooperative. D. Condominium. The answer is C. Cooperative. Number 19. A man owns a fee simple interest in his apartment, together with a specified and divided percentage of common elements. The man's building is organized as A. Condominium. B. Real estate investment trust. C. Cooperative. D. Syndicated venture. The answer is A. Condominium. Number 20. The buyer of an apartment receives shares in a corporation and a proprietary lease to her apartment. Her building is organized as A. Cooperative. B. Condominium. C. Joint venture. D. Syndicate. The answer is A. Cooperative. Number 21. A board of directors commonly reserves the right to approve or disapprove of potential buyers in which form of joint ownership? A. Cooperative. B. Condominium. C. Joint venture. D. Tenancy in common. The answer is A. Cooperative. Number 22. Stock in a cooperative apartment is usually considered A. Real property. B. Personal property. C. Proprietary property. D. A common element. The answer is B. Personal property. Number 23. The term reserves refers to A. Tenants willing to invest in a conversion. B. Weeks of the year owned by a timeshare purchaser. C. Percentage of ownership for each condominium deed. D. Funds set aside for major repairs in the future. The answer is D. Funds set aside for major repairs in the future. Number 24. Long-term stability of residence is most characteristic of A. Cooperative. B. Time sharing. C. A condominium. D. An apartment. The answer is A. A cooperative. Number 25. A couple has the right to live in Unit 6B only between March 3 and March 15 of every year. For the rest of the year, others have the exclusive right to live in the unit. The type of ownership arrangement described by these facts is most likely A. A cooperative apartment building. B. A timeshare. C. Illegal under New Jersey law. D. A rental apartment. The answer is B. A timeshare.